Marriage counselors of Reddit. What's the stupidest reason a couple has made an appointment? Couldn't decide on which chicken to buy for their chicken farm. Sounds like a Portlandia sketch, lol. Like which specific chicken, or which breed of chicken to raise in general? Please tell me there was some underlying, more fundamental problem that caused the chicken thing to escalate. Like, surely that was just a symptom of the deeper issue, right? I had a woman come in for couples counseling. Over the phone she reported that her boyfriend, with the same last name, very confusing, was distant and was refusing to listening. When the session started, it was just her that showed up. She went on and on about how absent he was and how he refused to see the progress she had been making in her life. It turns out the boyfriend was an ex who had a restraining order against her and lived halfway across the country from her. She was delusional and was receiving treatment for her mental health issues. She just could not get her thinking away from him and legally changed her last name to his because it would mean they would be together. She figured couples counseling was the way to work out their relationship issues. Edit. Not sure this is the stupidest, but it is definitely the most bizarre reason I have had someone make an appointment. Edit. I went to bed and this totally blew up. So, I will try to answer a lot of questions in this edit. I realized things were not adding up when first he didn't show up and then she told me he didn't live in the same place as her and she had not spoken with him in over 8 years. None of her story really made sense. Her sister came to pick her up and I was given the okay to talk to her. The woman's sister had thought she had come to me for individual therapy and told me about the stalking and restraining order as well as her diagnoses. I saw her on an individual basis for about a month until I got her enrolled in ACT services, which is a team of case managers that will meet her daily if needed, as well as psychiatrist, RNs and individual counseling. She still reaches out everyone once in a while and is doing well. She is holding down a part-time job and living independently now. She still thinks that the man is her soulmate and that they are spiritually together. To all the people making Orange is the New Black references, I have never watched the show. I'm sorry. No, I did not breach confidentiality because my name is not given. Her FI was not given. And no specifics were given. Also, thank you for my first awards. Nothing is really stupid in making the decision to come in for a couples session. But the most startling session I've had was when the couple had barely sat down and one of them informed the other that the relationship was over, turned to me and said, "Thank you for supporting a partner through this," and left the office. Edit. Thanks so much for all the positive response and for all the stories you've shared about going through this. As some have mentioned, it's absolutely reasonable to ask a therapist to help with a difficult breakup. And in this case, the person who remained did become my client and successfully worked through some tough material. In the interest of confidentiality, I'm not going to share more details. I have to admit though, even as a professional, I was totally shocked when it happened and had to work through my reaction live while focusing on supporting someone else. All part of being a therapist. My specialty is children and families. But during the pandemic I was a whatever came in because it has been super busy. One lady called and spoke with me first about how her husband was horrible at communication and never listened to her. She asked for a couples session. As soon as she ambushed her husband with a "There's a therapist on the line that wants to speak with you," her husband screamed, "You called a therapist because I don't want to paint the house purple?" She wanted me to convince him to paint the house purple. And like any normal human who sees colors, he refused to listen to her. It's always the dishes. I don't see couples anymore because I cannot have one more conversation with adult human beings about the various philosophies of dishwashing. As a younger person, I want to say that the game is rigged. We've learned from our parents Don't rush into marriage. Test out sexual compatibility. Check and check. But do you know how long it takes to establish dishwashing compatibility? Question mark. Dad told me that the secret to a happy marriage was a dishwasher and 2 bathrooms. A lot of couples schedule counseling for legitimate reasons like communication issues, but then it will come out that the real reason is something stupid and they don't even realize it. I had a couple married 25 years who were struggling to connect, and it turned out they were resentful of each other because they both wanted to spend various holidays with their families of origin. Never talked about it, never mentioned it, just both simmered in silent resentment for 25 years. It was resolved so quickly once it was unearthed. Another couple came in for parenting challenges. Told me very casually they hadn't had sex since their youngest was conceived. How old is your youngest? 13. Both were acting like it was completely normal and fine and unrelated. Turned out it was not normal and not fine and definitely related. Referred for sex therapy and heard the whole family happily graduated from therapy within months. The entire family was seeking therapy with different counselors for different reasons. Or so they thought. No, they were not doing family sex therapy. I can't believe I just typed family sex therapy. ETA, if you are interested in starting sex therapy with your partner, type in your location here. https://www.psychologytoday.com/us/therapist/sex-therapy. If you have health insurance, you can also call the number on the back of your insurance card to ask about mental health coverage. They should give you a list of providers. Find a provider who specializes in couples and start there. You might be surprised at what is covered. If you don't have insurance and can't afford to pay out of pocket, ask the provider about pro bono services or a sliding fee scale. I work with a lot of kids, and I see far more stupid reasons that couples have not scheduled an appointment. Parents spill their guts while explaining what's wrong with their children. And 90% of the time it's the parent's marriage causing issues with the child family. This is totally not a catch-all statement because many children have true behavioral, emotional challenges separate from their parents' marriage. But at the same time, if you feel like your child is struggling and you have tried everything, maybe try marriage counseling. ETA, if you are interested in couples counseling, find a provider here. https://www.psychologytoday.com/us/therapist/couples-counseling. If you have insurance, you can also call the number on the back of your insurance card and ask about mental health coverage. Find a provider in your network. You might be surprised at what is covered. If you don't have insurance and can't afford to pay out of pocket, ask the provider about pro bono services or a sliding fee scale. My cousin went to counseling because her husband cuts the sandwich straight inside of diagonal. When I first heard it, I thought it was a joke. My husband now is 32 and won't eat a sandwich unless cut diagonal. I made the mistake of cutting it straight once as a prank. It wasn't funny. You don't mess with his diagonal sandwiches. I'm a counselor with teenagers and kids. A school staff member dragged these 2 teens into my office one day. A boy and a girl. Both were clearly upset but definitely didn't want to talk about it with me. You could have cut the tension with a knife as they sat frozen in their chairs staring at the floor. I saw them and thought, oh she's pregnant. I'm trying not to panic at how to handle the situation as I finally get them talking, and it turns out they were just fighting because he sent a text to some girl. A text. At least she wasn't pregnant. A pimp and one of his sex workers scheduled a session to see me because they were having jealousy issues. They were legally married and he was unhappy with how she couldn't leave work at work. Best couple ever. What does that mean? Does she call her clients in her downtime or talk about work with her husband? That has so many layers of dysfunction. I'm intrigued. My anger management group facilitator told us a funny story about a couple that came in for counseling. The husband wanted to write a book. The wife said she would work and do everything around the house for a year while he worked on his book. So he quit work and wrote his book while she did everything. The book got published and was a hit. The publisher asked him to do a book signing tour. The wife was furious. She had supported him writing the book and she was done. They came to the appointment and explained the situation. The therapist asked the wife, "So what would it take for you to be okay with the book tour?" She said, "A trip to Hawaii with my sister." The husband was like, "Really? Done." The appointment was over in 5 minutes. Edit. Since a few have asked, he couldn't tell us the title of the book due to confidentiality. A buddy of mine was in therapy with his wife. She told me later that my friend, let's call him Gary, has a drinking problem. Me? Wait, what? Since when is Gary drinking? I never saw him drink alcohol. That's the problem. Oh Gary, I hope you are fine now. Edit. It seems like I worded it in a weird way. Her issue is that he doesn't drink. My uncle and his wife. Reasoning, she lost a frying pan. I mean, I get that it's a stupid argument. But how the F do you lose a frying pan? Cupboard greater than hob greater than next to sink greater than into sink to soak greater than next to sink because other things need washing greater than angry wife puts all the washing in the garden out of spite because husband never does the F washing up and the kitchen is AF mess greater than raccoon steals frying pan. Never know when you have to use it as a drying pan. My sister-in-law made an appointment for marriage counseling because her husband greeted their dog before her when coming home from work. I have no option. The dogs are literally at the door, ready for me to try and not trip over them. Dogs always get greeted first. They're always the one by the doors happy to see you. Sister-in-law should start waiting by the door and getting super happy when husband comes home if she wants to be fair. My ex made an APPT for us when he got his side girl pregnant. I was 26 and in grad school, lonely, stressed, and horribly gaslit, and went along. At the time the therapist would say if he hasn't changed by now he's not going to. Usually I'm trying to keep people together but I'm not sure I can now, and I would get mad. Now I look back and things, come on girl, run. Edit. To add, we broke up about 3 to 4 months later. It hurt unbelievably for a bit at first, but after some time, distraction, and actual effort to move forward coupled with a year of deciding to just be single, I am now doing phenomenally. It's so easy to want to keep something even if it's disgusting and poisonous, because you don't see all the lying and cheating. You see the cute falling asleep together and hand-holding. But staying is worse than leaving sometimes. And I am just so happy to be out of that and as far away from that dumpster fire of his life as possible. Not a counselor, but my friend is one. And a couple came to her, unofficially, because the wife wouldn't tell her hubby when her mom was coming over because she knew he'd be sick or out that day. Who was the monster of husband or mill? There's a 90% I'm the husband. Imagine having money to spare on marriage counseling you don't even need. Not me, but my buddy's wife demanded counseling after he refused to fix his habit of leaving the seat up. Apparently the straw that broke the camel's back was he didn't realize his poo came back up, and she fell into the toilet on his old, waterlogged Poseidon's embrace. Real solution. Everybody puts the lid down after they're done. Everybody then gets into the habit of lifting something up before they do their thing. They got into a domestic because he wouldn't try her jam. From the other side, I ran into an ex-girlfriend after being broken up for a long time. We decided to go to couples counseling as friends to clarify some stuff from the past. We went to the session. talked about some heavy stuff but then ended up being very supportive to each other and laughed and stuck up for each other in a weird way. At the end, the counselor guy was just staring at us sort of dumbfounded and said something along the lines of, "You two clearly need to get back together." I just remembered his face. He was looking at us like we were idiots. I think the idea of post-breakup couples counseling as friends might have been a new thing as well. Update. We got back together for about 2 weeks. I was away for work and she went on a vacation with another guy. When I find out, she said she didn't know she wasn't supposed to. We were very much in love for quite a few years, but at the end of our relationship she really started acting weird. She started acting out in crazy ways, cheating on me while I was at work and blaming me. She started a weird cross-dresser alter ego. She would get mad at me for this that she imagined could happen. It got really weird at the end. This was 5 or so years ago. Last I heard, she had quit her job and sort of lives like a hobo. A friend of a friend mentioned her one time and I found out she had gotten a DUI and had cheated on her current boyfriend. The counseling part was still very useful. I recommend counseling to anyone who has persistent relationship problems. I think the idea of a post-breakup counseling session is not a bad idea either. If it was a serious relationship, saying things out loud to a stranger can make you realize how dumb a lot of stuff really is. I'll always cherish the good years with that girl. We had a very fun and interesting world together. I hope she is doing well. I learned a lot from that relationship, which set me onto the path of a much better life and a much more mature outlook on communication and relationships. I'm not a marriage counselor, but I'm in school to be a mental health counselor at the moment. My professor has worked in the field for over 30 years, and we asked him this question at one point. He answered something like this: there is no stupid reason to seek out counseling. What may seem trivial to one person can completely consume another person. What may seem insignificant to you might just be the last straw for a client. It's our job to figure out why that stupid reason caused them to land in your care. Sometimes it's a lot of minor things that build up because they don't have any good coping mechanisms. Sometimes it's a major problem that they don't want to talk about, so they start small. Sometimes it's something they don't even realize is a problem, but it's causing them distress regardless. There's a lots of reasons why clients might present you with something that seems completely insignificant, but the fact is, they're in front of you, paying you money, so that you can help them improve their mental health. 99% of the time, that means that they believe getting help is worth their time and money. He then proceeded to tell us a story about a woman who believed that Ashton Kutcher was her baby's daddy, and she wanted a psychiatric professional to verify her mental health so she could file for child support and reconnect with him. As far as he could tell, she had never met Ashton Kutcher, or even seen him in person. So sometimes people are crazy, but not usually. Edit. The point he was trying to make is that there's always a deeper reason. It's never just my husband lost a frying pan, it's the constant pattern of carelessness, or a lack of taking responsibility on the husband's part. It's never just we couldn't decide on what type of chicken to get for our farm, it's the inability to come to an agreement on any decisions, minor or major. These little things are a symptom of the bigger problem. In the case of the woman at the end, the bigger problem was schizophrenia.